We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
The Constitution in crisis, Florida's Ron DeSantis faces a peculiar gubernatorial challenge, and Joe Biden uses your money to pay for conveniently timed debt relief. All this and more on today's episode of Liberty Nation Radio here on the Radio America Network. I'm Mark Angelides. I want to take a moment to say a special thank you to our listeners in Cadillac, Missouri on WATT 1240 AM and 106.1 FM. Thanks for being here. Remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news, analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. All eyes are on Florida in the upcoming gubernatorial between incumbent Governor Ron DeSantis and challenger, former governor, former Senate candidate, former Republican, former independent, and current Representative Charlie Crist. Does the now Democrat man who would be king have a chance of gaining traction in the Sunshine State? Well, to help us fathom that particular landscape, we're joined by longtime host of this here Liberty Nation radio show and senior political analyst at LibertyNation.com, Mr. Tim Donner. Welcome back to the show, Tim.
Hello, Mark.
All right, so Tim, how significant is the November contest between DeSantis and Crist?
Well, I think it's fair to say that this DeSantis-Crist race will be something of a bellwether for 2024. Not because Charlie Crist is going to run for president, although with his political unbridled...
The only office he hasn't so far.
That's right. That's correct. He was Attorney General, governor, member of Congress as a Republican, then an independent, and now he's running as a Democrat. So it's not a bellwether because of him, but it certainly is because of DeSantis, because he's certainly a good sort of Democratic stick figure to run against DeSantis to see just how vulnerable he might be, since they have pounded on him constantly as a reactionary right-wing successor to Trump, which is actually what they're scared of. But I think the fact that the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, himself thought to be very ambitious on the presidential front, actually ran ads in Florida against DeSantis. It's not unprecedented, but it's extraordinary for an out-of-state governor to run ads in another state in a gubernatorial race. And that shows you just how much they fear Ron DeSantis. They might say they don't fear him. They feel that he's the next big thing. But I think they do fear him because he is the face of the party in the future for the Republicans. The Democrats have yet to decide who theirs is, but barring illness or sudden turn of events, which we can't imagine, but which always happen in politics, Ron DeSantis represents the future of the Republican Party, whether he runs in 2024 or not.
On a slight side note there, just to follow something up on what you said that the Democrats haven't decided who is the face of their 2024 or 2028, which is quite the blow to Kamala Harris, seeing as she was all set and Joe Biden just the transition candidate. But of course, I guess that turned out to be like the transitionary inflation, or not.
Well, there's a great deal of certainty about who won't be the face of the Democratic Party in 2024. You can't rule out Biden because he's stubborn and believes he's the only one that can beat Trump. And hey, he beat him once, so he's got a claim, but he's going to be 82 years old and in obvious cognitive decline. But the one certainty in my mind is that the certainty of Kamala Harris has now been reversed, that she cannot be the face of the Democratic Party, or she's sure to lose to Trump or anybody else that runs as a Republican presidential nominee.
Yeah, a goat in a red rosette would probably beat Kamala Harris at the moment. It is funny, though, isn't it, that since it appears that the DNC and those in the power circle have decided that she's not capable or fit of winning the election, that all of a sudden all these stories about the great things that she's doing have all just dried up. And literally, you cannot find a headline about Kamala Harris anywhere. It's almost as though the
I
media doesn't want to remind the public.
I will say one thing in her defense, which is she was given the most unenviable, no-win tasks, such as trying to fix the border problem when the administration essentially opened the border, getting her onto the voting rights issue, which was something they could not win from the beginning because they needed 60 votes, including 10 Republicans. They were never going to get that. So they gave her the most thankless tasks, but she botched them all beyond the point, I think, where they believed she would. But at least they can now blame her for these problems instead of Biden. Although, of course, he picked her, but nevertheless, he picked her with the expectation in progressive circles that she would be the successor in 2024. That has not worked out.
So let's get back to Ron DeSantis. And it does seem that the media is rallying behind every scandal, whether real or imagined. And there are a lot of imagined scandals there about Ron DeSantis to derail his future prospects, I guess. Now, as you pointed out, they do fear him. But why does he generate such fear? Is it because they think he would be an effective combatant in an election? Or do they fear that he'd be exposing the narcissism, I guess, of the corporate media?
Well, Mark, they fear him for good reason. They're petrified of him for good reason because he represents Trumpism without Trump. In other words, the Trump policies were wildly popular with Republicans and with a lot of independents and undecided in the middle type of voters. It was always his personality, his bombastic nature, and his explosiveness that made people and continue to make people uncomfortable. DeSantis is a polished politician, and he's someone who has adopted the fearlessness of Trump in laying out a clear conservative agenda and taking on even Disney, for heaven's sake. That's how basically politically courageous he is. So he's also 43 years old, which means he's got forever to decide when he wants to run for president, to pick his spot, much like Trump did in 2016. So the worst possible thing for the left is to have someone who could achieve the Trump record without the personality that makes him easy to demonize.
I wonder if that's why Charlie Crist got the backing. See, he really did run a national campaign for the nomination, for the Democratic nomination, rather than a local campaign, talking about how he's going to end DeSantis. He literally tweeted how he's going to end DeSantis's 2024 run. But it seems to me that a lot of the critics of Crist are calling him a political chameleon. Are they onto something?
Really?
Yeah.
I can't imagine why they would do that. That's such an unfair charge. Look, Mark, just because he was first a Republican, then an independent, then a Democrat, once a conservative, now a liberal, why would anybody say that he's a chameleon? I can't understand that. What he is, Mark, is he's the quintessential politician sort of on steroids, because he literally lives in a principle-free zone, who is willing to say anything, join any party, make any assertion in order to win. He's a deft politician. He's a fundraiser supreme, but he's also a remarkably cynical choice for a Democratic Party that had a progressive running against him who seemed to express all the current sort of ideology of the Democratic Party. And she got crushed by this cynical career politician. So I think a political hack was the person that they've chosen that they think is most likely to be able to, if not defeat DeSantis, at least make him look bad.
Well, and if it doesn't work out for Charlie Crist, there's always a 2028 dog catcher for the Green Party. We'll be We'll be right back with Tim Donner after this short break. We're going to be talking about the unfolding constitutional crisis of confidence. Don't go anywhere. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
We're doing it for real, really real. Liberty Nation.
And Jeff Charles, contributor for LibertyNation.com.
I think we're starting to make an impact. Liberty style, fighting for freedom.
The tracking poll sponsored by Liberty Nation for Thursday.
Mentioned by Dan Bongino, Rasmussen, Jordan Peterson, and
I
others.
can do it again if you want me to.
Cited in Mark Levin's American Marxism.
I think we're starting to make a really big impact. Get noticed. We're doing it. Rock on. I'm gone.